Hagar in Montrose when Montrose did the albums Warner Brothers Presents Montrose in 1975 and also Jump On It from 1976. He was in that band during that period of time. He was also in the band Shatterminx. He is also survived by his son and songwriter Brendan Willing James, and he was only 68, very young, same age as Al, so it's sad to hear that.
Yeah, and those other two Montrose albums, I don't think they're as good as the first two, but there are some decent songs on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, they're always good for a spin to get a few songs off of. So, yeah, sad to hear somebody else in the Van Halen-related community passing away. Ronnie, of course, passed away, I think it was almost a decade ago now, something like that.
Right.
Our heroes are moving on.
They're all moving on. Now, one person who did a nod to his hero was Eddie Van Halen, Steve Terraberry. This guy put out a YouTube video where he plays Eruption using 20 different styles. Here's a clip. On this clip, he's playing blues and thrash and progressive metal and AC/DC style and alien core and flamenco. It's like all these different styles on here. I thought this was very cool, very inventive. What did you think of this?
I thought that was crazy cool.
Yeah.
The way he just switches from style to style and makes it work. It's totally worth a listen. It's amazing in its execution of various different styles to a Van Halen song. Sure. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, that was very, very cool. Another thing that was cool on YouTube was this mini documentary about, remember the famous Van Halen photo, Dave, of Dave and Eddie outside McDonald's from like the late 70s?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay, they show Eddie and Dave. It's in winter. They're wearing winter coats, and they're eating cheeseburgers. They look like they're wolfing down like tons of cheeseburgers outside McDonald's. And it was taken during the promotion tour of the first album in the suburbs of St. Louis and Crestwood, Illinois. And the DJs, Mark Klaus and Ron Stevens from KSHE Radio, they did this mini documentary about that specific photo, which was taken by Richard Upper, the photographer. It's one of his most iconic photos, and he said the guys were in these army surplus jackets that they picked up on the road, and they kind of took a break and went to McDonald's because they were hungry, and he got this incredible shot, and they went out of their way, Dave, to go back to the McDonald's and stand in the same spot and show you the difference of the road and the different signs and the businesses. And what they were doing was they were raising money, so they took this shot and they blew it up, and they had Richard Upper, the photographer, sign it, and they were auctioning it off on keeplivealivestl.org, and it's $25 per chance, and it's a $500 value, and really, really cool. And they also recounted how the guys came into the radio station. They were pushing You Really Got Me at the time in the winter of 1978 on their promo tour. What did you think of this documentary? I thought this was really, really cool.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I know we've spoken about this picture before.
Yep.
And how people were trying to find out which McDonald's it was.
Right.
And all the homework that was done. So it's really amazing.
Unbelievable.
How this seemingly random picture of the band has gotten so much attention. And it's just amazing what Ronald McDonald can do to people. I mean, every time this picture comes up, I'm always like, wow, again?
Yeah.
Everybody just loves this picture and where it was, and the story behind it. And yeah, it's just an interesting early time in Van Halen's history, right when they were breaking.
Yeah, it's iconic, and that's iconic photo, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, our last item is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly sad. So, as you guys have known, Dave and I have been excited about this new Talas album coming. We're still excited about it. However, there's some really sad news came down that Talas singer Phil Naro passed away after his long battle with tongue cancer. He was only 63 years old, and Phil was a fantastic singer. Dave and I had seen him in the spring of 2019, and we saw that Talas show, which makes even more special now, and it was special as it was before. and this was a really hard blow. He died in his home in Rochester, New York, and that album is still coming out. And it was worked on even though he was really struggling. It's really just an intense situation. So sad for his family. And Talas worked so hard on this album. In fact, Dave and I, for this episode, did a very special interview with Billy Sheehan in memory of Phil Naro and about this album. So that is going to be a big portion of this episode. Dave, this was really sad, right? I mean, to get this news was horrible.
Yeah. I mean, we were really hoping he was going to beat the odds. And, you know, he wasn't that old.
No.
And to hear, you know, it was tongue cancer, I believe.
Yep.
And again, you know, it's just really sad.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, we're just so fortunate that he was able to finish the album before he passed away. Yeah. In retrospect, you know, the guy was not at 100%, but he was giving it his all. Like I said, we're really lucky, and it'll be bittersweet, but I am looking forward to hearing this album. It's the Talas album we all thought would never happen.
Right.
You know, it's sad that he won't be around to enjoy it coming out, but you know, as a fan, I'm just grateful that we're even getting that chance to hear it, because that's one of those things you never thought was going to happen.
Yep.
And here this guy's recording this album, and, you know, he was going to die a few months later.
Yeah.
So we're really very lucky. You know, like you said, condolences to the family.
Oh, yeah, horrible. Just horrible.
You know, by all accounts, he was a great guy, and he certainly was a fantastic singer.
Yep.
And he will be missed.
Yeah, very, very sad. I'm so glad we saw that show, and it was a lot of effort to see that show, because remember, it was like the early spring or winter, and I remember it was cold, and it was snowing, it was like the middle of the week, and I remember you came down, and remember how we went to a lot of, like, hoops to go to that show.
I remember, like, when because we saw that show, and we had almost found, not the last minute, but, like, we did not know about it when the tickets were released.
No, it was
we
sort of
found
under the radar.
After the fact, and we were like, so are we going?
Yeah.
This is going to be, like, when's this going to happen again,
Exactly.
And
you kind of knew.
Right, and the timing was lousy, and we were just like, screw it, we're going to make it happen, we're going to go, and we're so glad we did. It was a great show, great band, and, you know, it was 2019, we didn't know we weren't going to be seeing shows.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. But that was a special one, because it was like, I mean, there was just so many things that had to happen in order to make it happen. But we did it, and then you had to leave like early in the morning. Remember, you had to go all the way back to Connecticut. Oh my God, it was insane. So
I know, but that was always one of our like bucket list bands.
Yeah, it was.
We never got to see any version of Talas because we would always find out about, and I don't know how this happened. Yeah, but we would always find out about the reunion shows after they happened.
I know.
Admittedly, this was like pre-internet or the early days of the internet.
Yeah, I know.
But we'd be like, oh, there's a live album coming out of the reunion show? Like, how do we not hear about this?
Yeah.
Now, admittedly, Buffalo is not around the corner.
No.
But you and I would have been crazy enough in 1997 or 8 to do the drive to see it.
That's for sure.
But we were lucky to see Talas version 2, as it's called. And like I said, we're looking forward to hearing the studio album, to hear the songs they never got to properly record.
Yeah, he squeaked this out and delivered, according to Billy, an incredible performance. So, unfortunately, we're ending Van Halen news on a sad note, but that wraps up Van Halen news.
And that's the way it is. Good night.
We are going to get into all kinds of stuff here. So, we have a special throwdown here that I posed to Dave, and he got all excited about. So, we are doing a post-Van Halen album throwdown. And what does that mean? This is what happens when you get let go by Van Halen, and what do you do afterwards? Well, this is Sammy's album outside of Van Halen, his first one after he got fired, let go, forced out, whatever you want to call it. That was in 1997 with Marching to Mars. And we pair that against Gary Cherone's album by Tribe of Judah, Exit Elvis, and that is from 2002. And Dave and I do a full deep dive into both of these albums, and of course Dave has to throw in Eat 'Em and Smile in there because he's got to get the trifecta going, and he wants...
That's right. That's right. I know we covered it already, but there's no way we're having that conversation without that album.
That's right. That's right. So he insisted on that, so we're doing that, followed by our interview with Billy Sheehan, like we mentioned earlier before. Billy Sheehan was kind enough to do an interview with us, Dave, a week, maybe 5 days after Phil's death, right? I mean, it was really very soon.
It was really very gracious of him.
Very gracious. And Billy really talks about Phil. He talks about the album, gives us insights into the album, what it took to make it, Phil's situation, how he met Phil, like a lot of cool, interesting stuff. And Billy's just amazing. That guy's unbelievable. I mean, he's one of a kind. I mean, there's not too many out there like Billy Sheehan. And not only is he unbelievably musically talented, like just beyond it. And let me tell you something. One thing about him, Dave, he's on so many albums as a guest star. I don't even think you could possibly calculate it. That's how many guest appearances he has on stuff. And we
I know. His discography must be impossible to track.
I would guess that I don't know if there is a discography out there that is full, that encapsulates everything he's on, because there's so many little albums that he did guest appearances on. I don't think anybody could possibly track all that, in addition to his own bands that he's been in. I mean, Winery Dogs, Sons of Apollo, David Lee Roth Band, Mr. Big. You go down the line. He's got so many different Talas, of course. I mean, there's so many different bands and outfits that he's in, so many guest appearances. We get into all of that stuff, but we talk mainly about memorializing Phil. Talas is part of the Van Halen family for sure, and we wanted to get into that. But, Dave, before we get into that, we have to do the mailbag, and we have a nice, juicy mailbag to get through, and that is all coming up next. Take a listen.
And it is that conflict, it is that collision, that sound, here's that Japanese shit again. In sumo, that's called tachiai. When they collide, boom! You can hear that all the way across the arena. And that's the sound of Van Halen, is that there is a mutual push-pull, like you found on all the most colorful football teams and baseball teams, reason that people still wear, that Oakland Raiders logo. It comes from whatever city it's in today. It hails back to Oakland, California of the late 70s, when they were the wildest bad boys.
If you need a dose of VH, get a taste of the closest thing. Romeo Delight, the ultimate Van Halen tribute band, playing all the hits from the David Lee Roth era, the first classic 6 albums, plus deep cuts, some of which have never been played live before by the band. They even throw in popular tracks from the Sammy Hagar era and solo hits. The most viewed Van Halen tribute band on YouTube, Romeo Delight, doing customized recreations of staging, instruments, and costumes from the classic Van Halen era. They even perform entire Van Halen albums in sequence. Romeo Delight plays theaters, casinos, summer indoor and outdoor festivals, and special events. They're also available for private parties. To contact them, call Bud Blanche at 215-704-5144. That's 215-704-5144. Or via email at sonicparade1@yahoo.com. Romeo Delight, the ultimate Van Halen tribute band.
Author Greg Renoff is back with a new book, Ted Templeman, A Platinum Producer's Life and Music. The new biography of the record producer Ted Templeman, who went on to produce Van Halen, the Doobie Brothers, Van Morrison, Aerosmith, Sammy Hagar, and more. The book, which runs $19.95, and it's currently available at Amazon.com. From the man who brought you Van Halen Rising comes Ted Templeman, A Platinum Producer's Life and Music, written by Templeman as told to Greg Renoff. Available for only $19.95 at Amazon.com. Order it today.
Hi, this is Dweezil Zappa, and you're listening to Dave and Dave Unchained.
Hello, loyal listeners. Wanted to let you know about our new Patreon. If you like what we do and you have the means, drop us a donation to keep the podcast going. Go to patreon.com/DD Unchained.
That's patreon.com/DDUNCHAINED. Doesn't have to be huge. Any side's contributions are greatly appreciated. Those who contribute $40 or more will get the Unchained package. Trust me, it's worth it. Contribute $65 or more and get the Romeo Delight package, which is Unchained plus more. And $95 scores you the Top Jimmy package, which is the kitchen sink. If you're a Van Halen hardcore and